All right, so you're sitting on this like mountain of information, right? And the goal is crystal clear. You want like the pure actionable stuff.
Yeah.
Like no fluff, no filler. Just those straight up aha moments.
Yeah.
The stuff that can actually like move the needle.
Mhm.
And that's exactly what this deep dive's all about. Like engineered for maximum insight, minimum wasted time.
I like that.
So today we're dissecting this super interesting YouTube video. You have investor Alex Hormozi, and he's like fielding these business questions
Okay.
from this crazy range of companies.
Yeah.
Some are just starting out, like 200K in revenue.
Wow.
Others are established players hitting like 140 million annually.
Huge.
But here's the thing, and this is what I found so fascinating.
Yeah.
There's these like fundamental growth principles that they transcend scale.
Interesting.
Think about it, like whether you're just, getting your footing or you're leading a massive operation,
Right.
you're probably like wrestling with some of the same core challenges.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Marketing operations, customer retention, you name it.
It's so true. And what's so fascinating is to actually see how these like recurring themes play out
Right.
across such different stages of business,
Yeah.
It just really underscores that the foundations of growth and sustainability,
Yeah.
they often boil down to like this core set of principles, and they don't change that much based on your size or your industry.
That's it.
So that's what we're really going to be looking for today.
Right. So the mission of this deep dive,
Right.
it's laser focused.
Mm.
We're going to extract the most like universally applicable
Yeah.
and insightful strategies and mindset shifts that Hormozi talks about.
I like it.
And we're tailoring it, for your understanding, for your potential application, no matter where you are in your business journey.
Love it.
Because as we're going to uncover the questions being asked, the
Yeah.
frameworks he's putting out there,
Yeah.
they have like surprising relevance, I think, across so many different businesses.
I'm excited.
So let's dive into the first one.
Let's do it.
Okay, so first up we have Zach Levine. He's got this pain management service.
Okay. Interesting.
Bringing in about 4.2 million annually.
Okay.
And he's working with this brick and mortar out-of-network insurance model,
Gotcha.
which, as he kind of points out, is facing some headwinds, right?
Mm.
Those reimbursements are declining.
Right.
And his ambition is to scale to 20 million.
Big jump.
Yeah. So right off the bat, what strikes me is how Hormozi just like cuts to the chase.
Yeah. What do you say?
He basically asks Zach point blank, like, what problem do you actually want to solve?
Okay. I like that.
Right? Is it the marketing and sales puzzle of a cash-based model where you're, going direct to patients based on the value you offer?
Right.
Or is it this, constant grind for operational efficiency?
Yeah.
If you stick with that in-network system, battling those shrinking margins,
Gotcha.
it's a clear choice,
Yeah.
and it's a fork in the road strategically.
So it is, and you're right to highlight that choice because each path really demands a completely different approach.
I mean, the cash pay model, right? You live and die by how good you are at marketing and sales.
Exactly.
You're convincing customers of your premium value.
Right. Yeah.
Whereas that in-network route, especially as reimbursements keep tightening,
Yeah.
you need absolute mastery over operational efficiency.
Yeah.
Because your pricing power is limited.
Right.
So you got to be incredibly lean and efficient to win in that game.
So Zach, he's clear. He prefers that premium cash pay model.
Okay.
Driven by his desired lifestyle, I guess.
Yeah.
And Hormozi gives him this super concrete advice. It's almost like
What's that?
he's saying, treat this transition as if you're launching a whole new business.
Wow. Okay.
But with the huge advantage of having your existing infrastructure and your resources.
Nard.
Right?
Yeah.
And the immediate priority, he says, is crafting this grand slam offer.
A grand slam offer. What's that exactly?
So it's like something so compelling, right? So irresistible.
Okay.
That it's almost illogical to say no to. I see. So it's like reducing that initial friction and building trust right away.
Exactly. It's like, boom, here's the value proposition.
Makes sense.
You can't refuse.
I like it.
All right, so then comes the question of how do you actually get these new cash-paying clients in the door?
Right, because right now it sounds like referrals are his bread and butter.
Yeah, referrals are huge for him now.
Yeah.
But to hit those ambitious growth targets,
Yeah, you got to go bigger.
they got to look beyond that.
Absolutely.
So they talk about content marketing, direct outreach affiliate partnerships.
Okay.
But I think what emerges as the strongest contender, at least initially, is paid advertising.
Interesting.
Specifically those targeted local campaigns.
I mean, that makes sense. Those can be really effective.
Yeah, they're relatively straightforward to implement and manage.
And the beauty of those local ads is the precision,
Right.
You can target your exact patient demographic
Yeah.
within a specific radius.
Yeah.
And you don't even need to get super fancy with it at first. A well-crafted ad hitting a key pain point
Yeah.
that can get some serious traction in a local market.
And the service offering itself needs a makeover for this new model.
Okay. How so?
They're ditching the whole trying to market 15 different services thing.
Okay.
It's too much.
Yeah.
The focus now is on 1 to 3 highly profitable front-end offers
Okay.
designed to just get those ideal patients through the door.
Gotcha.
Then the real growth, that comes from strategically upselling and cross-selling additional services.
Right. So it's like streamlining that initial offering to make it crystal clear,
Exactly.
makes the marketing more efficient.
Yeah.
And then once you've built that trust and shown the value,
Right.
it's easier to introduce those additional services.
Yeah, people are already bought in.
Exactly.
All right, so tactically, Hormozi gives Zach some really specific next steps.
Like what?
He's got to record a compelling ad, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
super targeted, on platforms like Meta.
Right.
He needs to get a CRM system in place, even if it's just Google Sheets at first. Keep it simple
Skirt simple.
and lightning fast. Follow up on leads.
That's huge.
Within 60 seconds if you can.
Wow.
And he talks about a significantly discounted initial assessment.
Interesting.
Maybe like a crazy low price for an x-ray or something.
Okay.
But the key here is getting that credit card on file.
So that it's easy for them to move forward.
Exactly. It removes any hesitation, right? And it just makes future transactions seamless.
That's smart.
And, Hormozi actually mentions this, that it dramatically increases the likelihood that they'll show up for the appointment too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because they're already invested.
Makes sense.
So the whole sales process gets this fundamental shift.
How so?
Well, the full assessment happens before any treatment.
Oh, okay.
And that key sales conversation, it takes place at the point of greatest need, not the point of greatest satisfaction.
That's so interesting. I've never thought about it that way.
Right, and it highlights, you're really understanding the customer's immediate pain point.
Yeah, because when you think about it, conducting that assessment up front gives you so much information. You can really tailor the recommendations to their specific needs.
Yeah.
And selling at that point of need makes your offer so much more compelling than waiting till they've already seen some relief.
Exactly. All right, so zooming out a bit,
Yeah.
Hormozi also pinpoints some of the underlying issues that Zach was facing at this optimized stage.
Optimized stage.
Yeah, it's like that tricky phase, 20 to 49 employees.
Oh, yeah. I remember that.
Things get messy.
Totally.
So he was struggling to attract top talent because of inconsistent cash flow,
Classic.
right? And investing in growth without seeing a proportional bump in revenue.
Yeah, and that's so frustrating.
And his advertising was all over the place because he was trying to offer too many different services.
Makes sense.
So I'm curious, does this resonate with anyone listening who's in that mid-size growth phase?
Oh, I'm sure those are some classic growing pains for businesses in that range. They're past that initial hustle of a startup, but they haven't quite reached the systems and financial stability of a larger company.
Exactly. So Hormozi comes in with these strategic recommendations, right, to tackle these hurdles.
Okay, what does he say?
He's a big proponent of customer segmentation by cohort.
Yeah. Okay.
Really understanding your different patient groups.
Yeah.
He emphasizes a crystal clear activation process for all new customers.
So they see value quickly.
Yes.
Okay.
And comprehensive sales training for the team.
Okay.
So they could effectively guide patients through this defined journey.
Gotcha.
Starting with those enticing entry point offers and strategically moving them towards those valuable cross-sells and upsells.
Makes sense.
And the big picture advice for Zach,
Yeah.
keep that existing $4.2 million business running,
Okay.
but channel all your discretionary resources, all your new energy into aggressively building that high-potential cash pay model.
So basically going all in on that new model.
Exactly. He even suggests this kind of bold move.
What's good?
Intentionally cutting off the lowest reimbursing patient segments.
Wow, like Medicare, for example.
Exactly, to free up cash flow immediately and make space for that new model to grow.
That's a tough call, but it could be really impactful.
Right. It's about prioritizing where future growth lies.
Yeah. And it really highlights this key point that we've been talking about. It's not just about identifying a problem.
Yeah.
You have to choose which problem you want to solve.
Yes.
And then pour your resources into that specific area.
And that focus is everything.
Everything.
All right, let's move on to our second deep dive.
Okay.
This one is with Henry. He's in the education space,
Okay.
teaching fix and flip strategies primarily to the Spanish-speaking market.
Interesting.
He's hit 1.3 million in revenue in his second year, which is impressive.
That is.
And it's largely driven by these two big annual events.
Okay.
He gets about 600 people at each one.
Oh.
And he's got a strong high-ticket conversion rate, like 20% are signing up for his $12,000 mentorship program.
Not bad.
But here's the issue, and it's a big one.
What's that?
No follow-up strategy.
Oh, no.
And no additional offerings for the 80% who don't buy in initially.
Yeah.
And even for the 20% who do after their one-year program is over.
Right. So they're essentially graduating and then what?
Exactly. And his goal is to reach $3 million in annual revenue.
Okay.
So you see the problem here.
Yeah,
right?
it's like this leaky bucket. You're constantly having to find new customers just to stay afloat.
Exactly. And it's something we see a lot with education-based businesses.
Yeah.
Customers graduate, and then there's no reason for them to stick around.
Right.
So you're always chasing those new leads.
It's a constant uphill battle.
Yeah. But the aha here is that education, by its very nature, creates these alumni.
Okay.
You need a plan to keep those alumni engaged.
Yeah, to keep them learning and growing with you.
Exactly. And Hormozi immediately calls out this missed opportunity.
Yeah, he's not afraid to say it.
He's like, look,
Hmm.
you've invested so much to get these people in the door, to teach them, to build that trust. And then you're just letting them walk away.
Yeah, you're leaving so much potential revenue on the table.
And constantly battling that high cost of acquiring a new customer.
Exactly. And it's so much more efficient to nurture those relationships you already have.
Right. So Hormozi makes this really clear analogy.
And hey, I like analogies.
He says, think about the traditional education system. There's always that next level.
Yeah. Undergrad, master's, PhD, postdoc.
Exactly. So in a business like this,
Right.
you need to constantly offer these opportunities for further learning, engagement, advancement.
So it's like building that continuity.
Yeah, those back-end offers, as they call them.
Right.
They're crucial.
And it just makes good business sense, you know?
Yeah.
You've already built that trust and demonstrated the value.
Right.
Why not capitalize on that with further relevant offerings?
Exactly. All right, so for Henry,
Yeah.
Hormozi's initial advice is actually pretty straightforward.
Okay, what's that?
Just scale what's already working.
Oh, so double down on the events. Exactly. Increase the frequency.
Yeah.
Maybe even expand geographically beyond Miami.
You mentioned the East Coast, West Coast, Texas, maybe.
Yeah, it's like if those events are profitable and converting, well,
Right.
just do more of them in different places.
Sometimes the simplest solutions are the best.
Exactly. But the real key for long-term sustainable growth
Yeah.
is actively focusing on revenue retention. And that means developing those compelling back-end offers.
Right. So instead of just focusing on acquiring new customers,
Yeah.
you're shifting to nurturing and continually serving the ones you already have.
And that's a big mindset shift for a lot of businesses.
It is, and especially for education-based businesses.
Yeah.
Because you're so used to that graduation model.
Right.
But building a truly sustainable business means fostering those long-term relationships and providing that ongoing value.
And that reduces your reliance on constantly finding new leads.
Exactly.
Makes your revenue more predictable.
Much more stable.
So Hormozi gives Henry some concrete suggestions, right?
Yeah, what are those? He could develop like a higher level, more advanced program.
Okay.
For those who've completed the initial fix and flip mentorship.
Gotcha.
Or maybe a continuity membership program.
Okay.
With a lower annual fee, but they get ongoing access to his network of experts, his vendor connections, updated resources, that kind of thing.
So it's catering to different needs and price points within that existing customer base.
Exactly.
You know, the higher level program is for those who are serious about taking it to the next level.
Yeah.
And the membership model provides that continuous value through community resources support.
And crucially, creates that recurring revenue stream.
Which is so important.
And from a financial standpoint, Hormozi says,
Yeah.
think of that initial $12,000 sale
Mhm.
as primarily covering your customer acquisition cost.
Okay.
Because bringing in a new student is expensive.
Yeah, you've got marketing, ads, events, all of that.
Exactly. So then that recurring revenue from the membership,
Yeah.
even at a lower price point, like $3,000 to $5,000
Uh-huh.
annually,
Right.
that becomes almost pure profit over time.
I see. So it's like a shift in how you view that initial sale.
Exactly.
It's not just about that one-time payment.
It's about building the lifetime value of the customer.
Exactly.
And Hormozi really emphasizes that this downselling, upselling model is super powerful.
It makes sense, especially in the education space.
Right, because you're naturally graduating those customers.
Yeah.
So you got to proactively build those pathways for them to continue learning and engaging with you.
And keep that revenue coming in.
All right, ready for our final deep dive?
Let's do it.
This one's with James. He makes custom branch railings,
Okay, cool.
mostly selling to homeowners right now.
Mm-hmm.
He's at $420,000 in annual revenue,
Right.
driven largely by his SEO efforts.
So he's good at getting those online leads.
Yeah, and he recently landed this huge $50,000 client,
Wow, that's a big one.
and it kind of sparked this idea for him.
What's that?
He wants to 10x his growth.
Ambitious.
Yeah, by focusing on what he calls whales.
What?
Yeah, like the architects, the interior designers, the general contractors.
Ah, so those who can bring in a steady stream of high-value projects.
Exactly. He wants to build a referral network with these people.
That's smart, thinking, if he can get those relationships going.
Right, because it's a shift, right?
Mhm.
From going directly to homeowners to leveraging these B2B connections.
And those B2B deals, they tend to be much higher value.
Exactly.
Hmm.
So initially, James is thinking about building this network of influential product specifiers.
Okay, makes sense.
But Hormozi's first piece of advice is pretty practical.
Well, what's that?
Double down on what's already working.
Oh, so keep the SEO going strong.
Yeah, and add PPC advertising to the mix.
Okay.
And ramp up the SEO content production even more.
So basically amplify what's already generating leads.
Exactly, because lower risk, right?
Yeah, before you completely overhaul your strategy.
It makes sense to optimize what's already proven.
And PPC can bring in those leads much faster.
Yeah, while you're building out that long-term affiliate network.
And the more SEO content you have, the better your chances of getting those organic leads.
Exactly. Now, when it comes to this whale hunting strategy,
Yeah.
which is really about, proactive outreach to these architectural and engineering firms,
Right.
Hormozi asks this critical question that James hadn't fully considered.
Okay, what's that?
What's the incentive for them to refer his business?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is, and it's like the foundation of any good affiliate program.
You got to have that win-win situation.
Exactly. You have to make it worth their while.
And you have to articulate that clearly.
Yeah. So Hormozi points out that architects, they're always specifying materials in their project plans.
Right. Everything from tiles to windows to fixtures.
And James's goal is to get his railings into those specs.
So they're being specified in absentia.
Exactly. It's like becoming the default choice.
That's a great position to be in.
It is. And interestingly enough,
Yeah.
James's biggest clients right now are still coming through his SEO.
Really? Even that $50,000 client?
Yep. He found James online.
Wow.
And he's recently started experimenting with Facebook ads targeted at these professionals.
Okay.
And he's already seeing some promising qualified leads.
So the demand is definitely there.
Exactly.
All right.
All right. So Hormozi then lays out his framework for building effective affiliate programs.
Okay, I'm all ears.
He talks about this in his book, Leads.
I've heard good things about that book.
Yeah, it's great. So he breaks it down into 3 main models.
All right.
First is that traditional approach where affiliates just sell your product for a commission.
Yeah, the classic commission model.
And he actually says this is his least favorite.
Really? Why is that?
We'll get to that.
Okay.
Second is a bit more strategic.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
You give affiliates a portion of your offering that they can then sell at a 100% markup.
Interesting.
But your main benefit is getting that introduction to their client base.
I see.
And this is actually Hormozi's preferred method.
Oh, wow.
And finally, you have the option of letting affiliates bundle your free lead magnet or valuable resource with their own services.
So 3 distinct models, each with its own kind of appeal.
Exactly. And I think the reason Hormozi favors that second model is because it aligns those incentives so perfectly.
Right. You're giving them something they can profit from directly.
Yeah, they become like highly motivated advocates.
It's a win-win.
Exactly.
Nice.
All right, so applying this to James's business.
Yeah.
His initial thought was to offer architects a straight-up 20% margin on referred sales.
Okay.
Give them the flexibility, to pass it on to the client as a discount.
Yeah.
Or keep it as a kickback.
Makes sense.
But Hormozi warns that those generic kickbacks, they often aren't that effective.
Really?
Yeah, he's like, they can get lost in the noise.
Yeah, I guess a simple percentage doesn't always motivate people to go the extra mile.
Exactly.
Well,
So instead, he recommends something more strategic, more value-driven.
Okay, I like where this is going.
He suggests giving architects something they can actually use.
Like what?
Maybe exclusive railing design resources, detailed specs,
Mm-hmm.
or even a lead magnet related to incorporating unique railing designs.
Oh, gotcha.
They can offer this to their clients, maybe even upsell it a little.
Yeah.
But they keep 100% of the profit.
Okay.
And James's benefit is that introduction to those high-value clients.
That aligns perfectly with Hormozi's favorite model,
Yeah,
right?
it's
You're
like-
not just asking for a referral.
Yeah.
You're equipping them with something that genuinely helps their business.
It makes the partnership way more attractive.
Smart.
And this is where things get really interesting.
Okay, tell me more.
Hormozi says if James builds a strong affiliate network, one that's consistently delivering those high-value projects, he might be able to raise his prices for those direct-to-consumer clients.
Oh, that's interesting because he's less reliant on them now.
Exactly.
He has that steady stream of high-value leads from the affiliates.
So it opens up his pricing strategy.
I like it.
So what we see here is a total evolution.
Yeah.
Moving away from that direct-to-consumer model towards one that leverages those B2B relationships.
And that requires a whole different approach to sales, doesn't it?
It does. It's about cultivating those long-term partnerships.
Yeah, building those relationships, understanding their needs, providing value.
And having really clear communication and support systems.
Makes sense.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
I think the overarching principle that really stands out, and what we want to leave you with,
Yes.
is this relentless pursuit of 100% value.
I love that.
It's about really homing in on your core problems,
Yeah.
understanding the trade-offs, with different strategic choices,
Mm-hmm.
and having the courage to make big shifts when necessary.
And that applies no matter what size your business is.
Exactly, because whether you're dealing with a business model that's facing some headwinds,
Right.
or struggling with customer retention,
Yeah.
or you want to tap into those higher value clients, those fundamental principles, they're the same.
They're timeless.
They are.
Yeah.
So let's recap those key aha moments.
Or hit me.
First, you got to get crystal clear on your main obstacle to growth
Okay.
and commit to a focused strategy to overcome it.
Yeah.
Are you optimizing for cash flow or for operational efficiency?
Gotta choose.
All right, second, you got to bake continuity and future revenue streams into your business model.
Yeah.
Don't treat every transaction as the end of the story.
Right.
And third, think creatively about those partnerships.
Yes.
And how you can design incentives that unlock high-value customer acquisition.
Those are golden.
And perhaps the biggest aha of all is that
Yeah.
you got to focus relentlessly on providing undeniable value.
In every single interaction.
Yes.
That's how you build trust and loyalty.
Absolutely. And what I really took away from all of this is that even the most complex business challenges often have these core fundamental solutions.
Right.
And it comes down to understanding your customer, the value of your offer, and getting that offer to the right people.
It's so simple, but so often overlooked.
It is.
Yeah.
So here's the question for you to really chew on. Okay. Think about the biggest challenge you're facing right now in your business. Which of those frameworks we talked about resonates the most?
Right.
That intense focus on problem selection, the proactive creation of continuity,
Yeah.
or strategically building those powerful partnerships.
Which one's going to give you the most leverage?
Exactly. And more importantly, what's one small, decisive action you can take today
Love it.
to start exploring that path?
That's what it's all about, taking action.
It is. And our goal with this deep dive
Mm-hmm.
was to give you more than just information.
Yeah.
It's about giving you a new lens to look at your own business.
Fresh perspective.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So go back to your notes, revisit those sources of inspiration. But this time with those frameworks in mind.
Powerful stuff.
It is. And remember, this is just one deep dive.
Right.
The business landscape, it's constantly changing.
Always evolving.
So keep questioning, keep exploring, and never stop striving for that perfect clarity.
And maximum value.
Exactly.